Welcome to Hope Academy. My name is Mr. O, and today I'm going to be going over specifically numbers 4 through 6 on the ACT Practice Exam 5, the very last practice exam that's provided on the ACT website. The link is provided in the description below. But today, as usual, I'll do the problems real quick and explain in depth how I was able to get to the answer. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. So number 4. So greatest value, okay. So I know it's not these are certain because it has to be between this and some. Okay. So for number 4, my final answer is going to be I. When I was doing this question specifically, the important thing you need to keep in mind is that what they're looking for is amongst these 4 variables, W, X, Y, and Z, they're asking for which one is the greatest value. And so, because all of these, I noticed right off, are going to be equal to t, you do want to choose the value where if I multiply it with a sort of decimal value and whatever not, the smaller the decimal value is, that means the larger the number is going to be. So for example, if this one, for example, because it's 0.23, it's only 23% of the total value of z, so z has to be a pretty big value to make it t. Well, in this scenario, 1.23 w equals to t. If I plug, solve for w and whatever not, it's going to be a smaller value. Another way you could, confirm that this is truly the case, and the reason why I slash out these two is because they're not the extreme values. They're not like really big or really small or whatever for percentile purposes. And so I knew right off that x and y wouldn't make sense. But a way you can make this to check is that first I'm going to copy down the 2 equations, the main 2 that I was discussing, 1.23w equals to t and 0.23z equals to t. And what I am going to do is that I'm going to attribute a value to t. So for example, let's say t equals to 1. Let's just say t equals to 1. 1.23w equals to 1, 0.23z equals to 1 because t is going to be 1. And let's see if w is bigger or let's see if z is bigger. So what I can do on my scientific calculator is that I could plug the values in. So I'm going to solve for w by dividing 1.23 on both sides. So if I do that, 1 divided by 1.23, is going to end up becoming a value like 0.81. So for w, sorry about that, it's going to be 0.81. And so that is something I found out right off. But if I do the same thing, divide, 0.23 on both sides right here, 1 divided by 0.23, it's going to end up becoming 4.335 basically. And I'm rounding off a little bit, but it doesn't really matter. The purpose of why I did this is to show that if you are not certain which one it will be, just give t a value, any value, an easy value except for 0, because if you choose 0, you're not going to really find out the values. But give the t a value like 1, and then you're going to be able to realize that, oh, okay, perfect. I am good right here. That it's going to be different values, adding to the fact that they state right here that the t, w, x, y, z has to be positive values. So t equals to 1 will work. That's why my final answer for this question is going to be I. Okay, and now I'm going to go ahead and continue on to the next question. So for number 5, so I'm going to switch papers so you can see this. So for number 5, okay, I'm going to go ahead and get started. So number 5, which of these are equivalent? Okay, so it'll be okay. Okay, so for number 5, my final answer is going to be E. And how I was able to go about doing this, the concept you do need to note in order to be able to solve this question, it's called the least common denominator. And I'll move this down so you can see this properly. Denominator, okay? And what least common denominator, the idea behind it is that it's based on the concept of understanding how to add fractions together, okay? And so for this specific question right here, I needed to recognize the fact that, well, I'm trying to combine 2 different bottom values that are both variables, and how do I go about doing so? So the way you go about doing so, and I'm going to redo the question right here. So basically the question states 5 over k plus 3 over k plus 5, the idea behind this question is that the next step I need to do is to input what values are missing in this fraction that this fraction has in the denominator, and to input any missing value in the denominator that this thing is missing that this has. So in the end, I noticed that, for example, for k, what k is missing is the k plus 5. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the 5, so this is going to equal to 5, k plus 5 over k plus 5. Because what that means is that this k plus 5 value right here, if I multiply top and bottom k plus 5, technically is 1. But what this allows me to do is create this least common denominator to combine them. And so likewise, on here it says k plus 3 and k plus 5. And what's going to happen is that in this particular equation, whatever not, k plus 5 it exists, but it's missing the k. So I'm going to multiply top and bottom by k. And so that's what I exactly did up here, where I sort of combined the like terms. I did it a little bit faster because I have some practice on this. But once you get the hang of doing least common denominators, you can just sort of mental math the work. And then eventually solve it out. I just, foiled it out, solved it, combined like terms and whatever not. And it ended up getting this solution, which is why my final answer is going to be E for number 5. And now for me to go on to number 6, the last question for today. So number 6, I'm going to go ahead and get set up so you can see what I'm doing. Okay, so number 6. Okay, 2 by 2 matrix below 1 B1 B2's cost. Okay, B1 B2's cost for bok choy. Okay, and marker 1 R1 R1 represents the cost per pound for flour for these matrices. Defining what does Q represent? Q. So Q's here. Well, we said market 1, market 2. Market 2 is going to represent rice flour. Okay. For not just R1. No. Not just 1. Nah, we're not talking about bok choy here. Not talking about. Okay. So for number 6, my final answer is going to be J. And now I'm going to go ahead and explain to you how I did this question. So if it wasn't apparent when you looked at this question, the concept that you do need to know is something called matrices. Matrices. Or sometimes you'll call it matrix. And the idea behind matrix is that it's sort of like the box brackets sort of things. And then for this question, they mentioned that B1 and B2 are prescribed to be bok choy, while R1 and R2 are going to be values for rice flour. And so right off, what happens in the general idea behind matrices, and you don't need to know specifics for this specific question, but what you do need to know is that these 0.5 are going to multiply with the point B1, B2, R1, R2, and they're going to sort of distribute out and multiply with each other. But you have to be aware that P is going to only represent B1 and B2, so specifically the bok choy cost, while Q is for certain going to be the multiplication between R1 and R2, which is going to represent the cost for rice flours. And so that's why I knew right off that we always do row times columns or systems to get P and Q, and then add them up afterwards. And thus why I knew right off that R1, R2 with the 0.5 values are going to represent specifically only for the both prices for rice flour, which is why my final answer for this question is J. And this concludes my explanation for today. Thank you so much for watching this video. Please do like our Facebook page, subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow us on Twitter so that we could continue to make content like this. I hope you have a wonderful day.